Now I'm going to have a challenge with this thing today, it looks like. So I apologize. It doesn't want to hug my ear. So if it falls off, just keep on. Speak loud. Last night I was at the River Park or whatever it is, River Spirit. Not
Not the casino.
Y'all concerned about the spirit, I'm concerned about the river. But there was Tom Jones was there.
What do you know about that? What you say?
I know about Jones. And Mike had some tickets, somebody that he knew, and so we had tickets right down on the floor, and I was already getting ready for today, but I stopped everything and went to a Tom Jones concert because I'd never seen him live. I recognized so many of the songs, I'd forgotten how much of his stuff I loved, and he's 78 years old, and so all of his group were there, my age and older. There were hardly, so when they told me I was going to be sitting on the floor, I said, well, I don't want to be looking at somebody's behind all night, standing on my face. So I didn't want to go, and he said, well, no, at these people, Tom Joyner's age, ain't nobody gonna be standing up. I saw more walkers and canes, and I think I saw Harriet Tubman standing in line. Wasn't nobody throwing nothing on the stage, a couple of Pampers here and there, you know. But I was thinking about how, and he started out with like 6 fairly religious songs. It fell off and I ended up, several religious songs. The whole evening, I think because he realized he was in Tulsa. Of course, I was thinking, here we are in a casino within walking distance of ORU. And my mind was going back to my high school days when I was listening to Tom Jones. And I didn't even know he was white until I saw him. I thought he was a black man because he has that sound. That's why I was there. So, but he was singing, I was thinking about when I came here in 1971 right out of high school, 48 years ago in August, and my mindset then, and now I'm here, not far from the university to which I came, for particular reasons, which is to be separated from that kind of a world, and that I felt so comfortable singing those songs with all those memories and ORU, and I was wondering what the president, or what Oral Roberts would have thought were he there. And I just had a rush of thoughts. Steve was talking about transitions and what transition am I in now? Where am I in my virtue, in my values, in my evaluations of my life journey? Why am I here? How much have I accomplished that I wanted to accomplish when I came here 47 years ago? Am I still trying to achieve those things? What does that mean? Has anything changed? There's a reference this month to justice, and I'm titling this the elusive myth. What is justice or fairness or equity, and do we have it? This is, of course, it's Pentecost Sunday in the Christian world, and millions of people are celebrating. In some places called Whit Sunday. I almost wore a white jacket, but I heard it was going to rain. I actually have a nice white jacket at home. I almost wore a white robe just to remember those days. And how much transition is taking place? Pentecost means 50th day. The inference is 50 days after the Passover feast. Really after the Passover, and the Passover has to do with blood and death. The children of Israel had been in Egypt for 430 years and had not heard from and very little about their God, and had gotten comfortable with their slavery or enslavement, had learned how to be familiar with it and navigate through it, and I think had become fairly comfortable with it. Moses, who was also a Jew but had been raised as an Egyptian and had the pleasures and the rights of an Egyptian and the justice, if you will, of an Egyptian, but had never forgotten his Hebrew roots, was reminded of them when he was in his 40s. And he reconsidered his life and what he was accomplishing, though he may have been a likely heir to the throne in Egypt. And Joseph, his progenitor at one time, was the prime minister of Israel. But that was 430 years, of Egypt, 430 years earlier. Now times have changed. Then their God shows up after 430 years of pretty much silence, but he throws up in a tantrum mood, and he's angry. And he bursts on the scene, turns the Nile to blood, and then there's flies and locusts, and there's death, and there's frogs, and both the Egyptians and the Israelites are startled by the manifestation of this God's wrath. That wrath has come to deliver them from Egypt. And they ultimately were with death. The only way, because the death angel would come, the narrative says, and that that it would kill the firstborn of every household, Jew or non-Jew, unless you killed a lamb or goat, put the blood on the doorpost and lintel of your home, and when I see the blood, or the angel saw the blood, I will pass over you. So deliverance was related to blood and death, violence. But that's what they did. 50 years after that, they arrived in the Sinai desert, some 2 million of them, where is the Sinai mountain upon which Moses received the law. We are from a Pentecostal background. I call us now Unicostals. The New Testament revelation of that, which had to do with tongues and speaking in languages that people could understand, not gibberish, because they understood, the scripture says, and heard them speak of the wonderful works of God. Sometimes that will be being able to speak to your spouse or your children and be understood. That's speaking in tongues these days. Talking to yourself and making sense. But anyway, the original meaning was the celebration of the festival for the giving of the law. What was good about the law is the law protected you from the anger of that God that manifested in Egypt. We spend our lives trying to appease an angry God religiously and please a difficult one. That's part of the struggle of the whole human race, of those who believe in a God that has anger management issues and throws sporadic, predictably unpredictable tantrums, whether it's a volcano or whether it's a kid coming into a school and killing 10 people and injuring several more. What's justice? Is God just, or can we find justice or fairness with that God? So we have laws. I celebrate Pentecost, not for the same reasons that I'm describing to you, but because of my roots. But even in that spiritual root, I was always afraid of God. Would God be just if I'm unjust or unjust? Can God love me as an unjust person? Am I an unjust person? Do I have equity and fairness? Do I love people? Am I being judged by a just God who sees me less than just? Are we on the planet? Everybody has this fear that we are, I call it the illusion of lack or alienation or isolation, that there's something wrong with us or that there's something wrong with life. How much of a victim are we? Are we victors or victims? Something came to me last night, which was supposed to be for the end of this lecture, but I'm going to read it now because it hit me, I think actually just this morning. I write these usually the night before. That's why I could go to the Tom Joyner. I mean, it doesn't take me long. But I thought life itself is one huge attempt. Everybody say attempt. And it's a temptation too, but it's an attempt. That's an effort to achieve or complete something, typically a difficult task or an action. What are we attempting to do, be, or become? What is your attempt? What is your effort in life? Most of us live in a survival mentality, just barely making it through, trying to survive a day. What does that mean? What does it mean to survive this day? It's vicissitudes, it's confrontations, it's fragmentations, it's animations, it's invitations and incantations, it's dispositions. How many got to sleep in a little bit this morning? Might it rain this afternoon? Will that change your plans? How many of you are hungry as I am because you didn't eat? I actually wanted a donut or a biscuit when I came in here this morning. I saw somebody sitting outside, one of our very nice gentlemen, and he had looks like he had a donut in his hand. He didn't offer me any of it, and I wanted somebody to just going to grab it from him. Is this all right? But you know, this attempt is an act of trying to achieve something typically one that's unsuccessful. The attempt seems, is this on? Unsuccessful or not certain to succeed. It's like a subconscious doubt of self. Sounds like religion. We're attempting to achieve something. We are not sure we will. We think we might. You hear me? All right. It's not on. It is on. So the whole idea of religion comes from a Latin word that means to bind or be in bondage.
Please give me the mic.
You want the mic? Okay. Give me the mic. That's the name of a show, ain't it? By the way, Majesty's on her way to Los Angeles right now she's going to appear as one of the contestants on, Majesty's my daughter, for those of you who don't know, our daughter. She's on her way to appear on the Four. That's a new, fairly new movie. I don't know. I mean, not a movie, but it's a music program. It's a vocal competition, quite stiff. I had never heard of it. And then I went online to see it, and it's P. Diddy and who? 3 or 4 other judges. And so we got to go out next week. Gina and I will go out and be on the show with her. I mean, sit in the audience and encourage her on. But it's a tough thing. She's going to be there all the way through August, or sometimes, unless she gets kicked out or off. But they put you through psychological checks to make sure that you can handle rejection and things like that. Of course, as our daughter, she knows what rejection is. And so she's well acquainted with rejection. And so are we. But then there's an attempt. She's attempting something. She's trying something. She's tempted to see if she can excel. So are all of us. I call life and love a disease, a sexually transmitted one. We all have this disease, this mental illness that we call love and and we're dealing with the insanity of being in love with our lives and with others, and the pain, and sometimes this, what I call sloppy agape. Sometimes it doesn't really work that well. I prefer the word compassion, and I associate that with justice rather than just the arcane, draconian approach to legalism and laws. This is what the law says. This is justice if you break the law. The reason you go to the pen is to repent. That's the original meaning of the term penitentiary. To repent means to change your mind or to rethink. Or after you've thought, think again. That was the original meaning of being penitent. Been broken to say, I shouldn't have done that. But of course, our penal system needs to be completely reformed because people don't really get a chance to rethink and somebody walk them all the way through. Once they've rethought and reconsidered what their motives are, then they should have another chance to eventually get out rather than keeping some of the people in there for decades. And here we are with a country that says, in God we trust as its motto, but I think we really trust more in guns than God. And yet within God we trust, and the 10 Commandments etched in the walls of our Supreme Courts of Justice, and the whole Department of Justice is under some kind of investigation by the president, who's the commander-in-chief, and they're investigating him. We've never been in a situation where our country was so polarized that the justice system, the CIA, the FBI is under scrutiny by the man that's supposed to be in charge of all of them, and they're looking at him. Talk about trust. People don't trust politicians, presidents, preachers, priests, principals, police officers. We don't trust the laws. We don't trust the lawmakers. And we don't trust the law enforcers. Our generation, the young generation that's coming up today, we've never presented this nation to a generation the way we're doing it right now. There's so much distrust. Children don't like their parents or respect them the same way, or anybody you respect, you're now suspect. Who would have ever thought that the nation's presumed father, Bill Cosby, would be indicted and possibly go to jail for 20 years for the kinds of things he's accused, alleged, and has been proved to have done in certain courts? It's stunning, it's heartbreaking to even think that something like that could happen. And that every week we find another person of renown who's either in politics or entertainment or business and even in ministry who's made some major moral fall. The churches are emptying out, some are filling up, but the general church, there's about 1,200 churches that close every month in this country. About that many preachers leave the ministry every month in this country. Religion is shifting. Bondage is shifting. Values are shifting. What is justice? When you don't use compassion, And I'd rather use, as I said earlier, the word compassion than just love, because love can be so sloppy. Remember, nobody can hurt you or harm you or hinder you or hate you like somebody you love or who loves you. Just go to divorce court or go to a family reunion. Love can be painful and pathological or illogical, prophetic and pathetic. But when you say compassion, that means you are feeling the pain or the passion of the person whom you are calling yourself loving. Even when you're judging somebody in a court of law, I don't judge people so much personally by what they do, but by what they were thinking 10 minutes before they did it. Or 10 hours or 10 days or 10 years, because it can pile up on you. Most of us have the victim consciousness that we are less than or other than or not good enough. We are depreciated or devalued. Sometimes in our families, starts that way. Who's the key person? Who's the number one child? Who each sibling thinks the other one was loved more by the parent. We always play that. Somebody always plays the rule that one was adopted and everybody else was born, a normal sibling. I had that played on me. He was adopted, and you start crying. What is that? I didn't even know what it meant. But when they first told me that, it just meant that I didn't belong. Everybody wants to feel connected. Everybody wants to feel accepted. Everybody wants to feel somewhat celebrated. You want your husband and wife and children and siblings and your parents and your neighbors and your employer or even your employee to like you. And most of us have this constant feeling of not being liked. First, usually religious people by their God. We wouldn't dare say God doesn't love us, because that means we're going to hell. Not usually Unitarians, but everybody else think y'all going. Y'all the only ones don't think you're going to hell. That's why I joined up with y'all. I don't even believe in hell no more. When you're afraid of a God who says, I love you, I want you to know I love you, I give my life, I give my son for you, I love you, my mercy endures forever, I love you. But if you don't believe this, I'm going to burn you forever. A God that says in the first 6th chapter of the first book of the Bible, I don't like you. He decided, according to the narrative, if you're a biblical literalist, he actually says, I regret I made you, and I'm going to drown all of you except for 8 of you. I'm going to drown you. Pregnant women, young girls, senior citizens, every family. In fact, I'm going to drown all the animals except for the ones that go in the ark. Isn't it interesting that the same attraction or magic or whatever happened that brought all those animals to the ark, that same appointment or anointment or power should have been able to draw more people to the ark. Moses preached, according to the narrative, Noah preached 120 years and didn't get anybody saved but his wife and children. I would have got drunk too. Before I got in the ark, he got drunk when he got out of it. And presumably had some kind of incestuous relationship with the son. And then God said, well, let's don't use water again. Too many bloated bodies and floating animals and babies, and it's nasty. It took 120 days for the water to recede. The stench was horrible. He said, next time let's use fire. Let's just burn the hell out of them next time. That's the God of your Bible, if you are a biblical literalist. So this idea of Pentecost, ours was different, as you know. We shouted and jumped and ran and asked God to keep us from the devil and keep us from offending him and save us and forgive us. And we wanted to prophesy, and we did all that. And I understand there's not a lot about religion you can tell me, because for the whole 65 years of my life, I've practiced some form of religion. And at the time that I was practicing it, including now, I had great confidence in it. I practiced with sincerity. I practiced with power. Somebody called me the other day and said, well, Bishop, I heard that you said you still quicken and you get happy and you speak in tongues and you even cast out devils. What devil do you cast out? I said, the religious devil that you are. That's what I'm trying to cast out. He's a curious. He calls himself a prophet. He really wants to have a conversation. I'm going to have a conversation with him, because people, even him, people are saying, why do I believe this? What's just about this system? What's accurate? When I say justice, I'm talking about fairness and equity. Where's the balance scales? Most of us somehow wrestle with the feeling that I'm not good enough or the system is against me, whether it's religion, the penal system, education is questionable right now. Politics is questionable. Politicians, questionable. Police comes to the word polis, or politeness, or policy. Polis is citizen. That's what it means. A metropolis means a lot of citizens or citizens. Situations. The polity or politeness or policy or police or politician is supposed to be about the people. What works best for the people? What's strongest for the people? The Second Amendment said that you should have the right to arms. And most of the people back in that believe in the 10 Commandments. And the sixth one says, don't kill nobody. So is the amendment more important than the commandment if you're going to get into either? One's very legalistic, but they both are, because we have these laws that we have put, or moral codes or whatever we put in line to keep from angering an angry God or an angry governor or an angry government. A hierarchical system, somebody doesn't like me, and I'm going to spend my life trying to either deceive them that I'm likable or convince them that I'm likable, and trying to convince myself, and the end justifies the means. So whatever I have to do to make that God like me or that government like me, we're saying you need to be born over here to be liked. Religions say you need to be born again to be liked by the God or the government. I'm only throwing these things out here so we would all reconsider what justice is. What is fairness? What is equity? What role do you play in it? How do you judge yourself? If I ask you, do you judge yourself fairly, what would your answer be? Who knows? I try to judge myself fairly, but I have all your judgments to deal with. You know, your first self-judgment comes from the attitude you think your parents have toward you, followed by your siblings. My oldest sister and my youngest sister, neither of them have children. The rest of us do, and there's 6 of us. The oldest sister doesn't have children because she had us. She had to help mama raise us. She don't want no kids. She actually, we biologically can't have them, but she doesn't miss them. The baby girl was the last of all of us, and she's the one that we had less time for because we're all busy trying to be us. And I often think of that. And I'm in the middle. I told you, by the time I came along, everybody was tired of kids. The kids was tired of kids. Mom and daddy was tired. It was just another mouth to feed. So that's why I don't have very many baby pictures at home. Wasn't nobody glad? Nobody taking pictures? Where you can't find, most of y'all have a picture somewhere where you with a big grin and some little white shoes on, and all my pictures is me naked, you know, on a little bed. I don't even have a diaper on. No, there's a couple of pictures of me as a little kid, but it wasn't intentional. My mama don't have any baby pictures at all of herself, because they didn't have cameras back in the 1700s. There's a few. You remember those flashlights that would pop and burn, and we would play with the bulbs after it was over. It was so loud and frightening. You had to wear shades to take a picture. That's the days we lived in. But then I'm the overachiever, because I came in. A lot of times the middle child is the overachiever, the one that works hardest to let somebody know they're here and they count. I'm on the planet. Because they want their just place. They want their equity. They want the fair position in the family. All of us do. And the religions say which one is fairest? Which one is the equal religion? Which one does everybody like most? Which government is the best government? Which denomination is the best denomination? Which human is the best human? Who's going to be? Isn't it interesting that we have history made this week that we had a royal wedding from the House of Windsor where the prince married a biracial American girl, part white, part black. And they had a gospel choir at the wedding. And a black Episcopalian preacher who got up on him there. The whole world, a billion people or so watched all that. It was so different. The Queen seems to have approved everything. And this is a different day that even the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is allowing women now to drive and to be in combat and some kind of transition is occurring right now. We don't want to be the tail light. I want to be the headlight. As a church, we need to know what's going on and be way ahead of the game when it comes to issues of justice and judgment and what's right and what's fair and what's equitable. Turn to somebody and say, I'm looking at you justfully. Or justifiably. Say, is it justice or just us? Which ones of us are going to make it? Everybody. Turn to somebody near you and say, you're wonderful. Here's what you know deep in your heart, and I'm going to close with this because I barely got to the stuff I wrote, but it's really good stuff. We're practicing law. We're rehearsing law. We're even practicing medicine. Life itself is a big, huge rehearsal. It's an attempt to find a way to survive itself, arrive at self, and then thrive as self. I don't know how many of you looked in the mirror and studied carefully what you're going to wear today. Obviously, some of you did not, but the ones who did. No, I'm kidding. I just did that because it's funny. But it's true. But we did it so that somebody else might have a nice thought about us. Because we obviously don't have that good a thought about ourselves. Some of you actually changed outfits after putting one on, or laid it out last night, thinking about somebody's judgment or justice toward you today. Isn't it interesting how we are also involved in not only our judgments, but other people's judgments, but we project our own judgments on other people? Okay, we project our own judgments on other people. We judge by assumption. We judge by assumption that you probably won't like us. When you start getting ready, the assumption is I'm not pretty enough, I'm not handsome enough, I'm not charming enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. Let me at least look good enough. But I assume that if they saw me as I am, first of all, they would judge me. They wouldn't like me naked. They wouldn't like me dressed improperly. They wouldn't like me dressed. They don't like this dress. They don't like this address. They don't like. Where do we get that stuff from? All the shame and guilt. I love to cook. And I cook basically on my satisfaction, but I'm always thinking what the people who eat what I cook will think. I'm brushing my teeth and shaving and getting dressed, combing my hair. What will people think about me today? And will they treat me fairly? Will my kids treat me fairly? My wife treat me fairly? My mom, my brother, my sibling, will they treat me fairly? Will they treat me like I count? Will they have respect for me? Well, before you ask all that, will you treat yourself fairly? Will you treat yourself honestly and earnestly? Will you be less judgmental of you? Because of your judgments of yourself, you presume I have a judgment against you. For many years, I'd go in a place, and because usually I'm the minority racially in this town, but in every town, you go into a room and you presume that if they're white, they don't like you. You presume that every white person voted for Donald Trump. And most of the non-Unitarians did. Or you assume that they didn't like Obama. That's a prejudgment, and I'm judging you ahead. All white folks didn't like. How could Obama win if all white folks didn't like him? Or how could Trump win if all black folk didn't like him? A couple of them actually did. And so racism and colors, that's a judgment right there. That's unjust to presume that other people are better or worse than you. Turn to someone and say, I'm okay and so are you. That's my judgment. Either way, wrap your arms around yourself. It's about to go time to go home. Let's reconsider just is and just us. The biggest evolution in Carlton Pearson's life, Mike and I were having fun the other night, last night. Somebody came to me and said something similar to this. They didn't quite say, but they said, didn't you used to be Carlton Pearson? Some of y'all just now getting at what I said. I said that should be the name of my book. I used to be Carlton Pearson. There was two ladies and their spouses at the casino. Now I don't know whether they were gambling or whether they were doing the Tom Jones thing. So I said, we came to see Tom Jones, because they said they were members of my church. So I had to let them know I came to see Tom Jones and that I wasn't gambling. Now why should that have counted? Well, because I've fallen so far from grace in some of their minds that he's at the, because they all said, we saw Bishop Pearson at the casino the other night. They assume they consider that if I'm at the casino, I'm at the casino too. I cuss now, I drink, they just all these assumptions. But why should I care? Because that part of me still has intimidations. When somebody says, I don't care what you think, they mean the exact opposite. Or they wouldn't have said it in that tone. Turn to somebody and say, I really do care what you think. But I don't know you that well, so who cares, Hug yourself one more time. It's time to go. I love you. I believe in you, and we say that each time. One of the things our thrust here is that when we say universal or one, the whole idea of atonement is at one-ment. Getting back in oneness, in unity. In a minute, we're going to have communion. That's common union. Or community, common unity. We are Unitarian Universalists, not just in the denominational term, but in the philosophical term, that I see you as an expression of me. You are a verse or version or versification of who I am. One verse, one version, or one versification of the whole. I am a version of you today. A lot of the things I've said you've related to, because we pretty much go through the same shift, S-H-I-F-T, every day. Turn to someone and say, get your shift together, because you're the next one on. We're the next one on. I'm the next one on. My shift is coming up now. Some of you just getting off, some of you just getting on, but we all have to work. We all have to walk, and we all have to tweak it out. Have a great week. Have a great tweak. We love you. We believe in you. In the name and nature of all that's good. God bless you. Thank you.
You're visiting with us online today. We love connecting with people all across the country and around the world, sharing our powerful message of love beyond belief.
There's something new happening here. You can now join All Souls as a virtual member. Our virtual membership is designed for friends who live outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and who want to engage with All Souls in a meaningful way.
You can be part of an expanding family, a global family really, wherever you are. If you live in Oklahoma,
Ohio,
or Orange County, California,
Canada,
or Cameroon. By becoming a virtual member, you'll be able to deepen your connections with members and friends here in Tulsa and with members wherever you are.
Each week, you'll receive special All Souls content tailored for you, our virtual members. Virtual members have access to pastoral care, to personal prayers, and also receive invitations to exclusive web events.
You can learn more, and if you're ready, you can become a virtual member today by visiting allsoulschurch.org/virtual membership.
We're grateful our ministries are having a positive impact on your life, and we want to share the good news of love beyond belief with more and more people. So no matter what, we need your support to keep this ministry growing and thriving, so please consider making a gift today. You can do so by texting
LOVEBB for Love Beyond Belief to 73256 or simply visit our website. You are a blessing in our lives. May you be blessed.
and be a blessing.